Claire Danes is here. As you know, Homeland has returned to Showtime for its 5th season. She plays ex-CIA agent Carrie Mathison. The New Yorker praises her performance, saying, as a stand-in for America's post-9/11 psychology, Danes is terrific, a vulnerable, seductive bully. She has received 2 Emmys and 2 Golden Globes for her performance. I spoke with her recently about her career, about the upcoming season of Homeland, and other things.
So Homeland, season 5 is back.
We're old. We've been around for a while. I can't quite believe how many years in we are, but it still feels very electric and vital.
So where is Carrie now?
Carrie is actually happy, amazingly. It's a very exotic experience for her. No, but she's in the private sector. She's quit the biz. She was very disillusioned by what she experienced in season 4 and felt very betrayed and by her mentor and friend Saul. And so she's out, and she's working for a benevolent billionaire, a philanthropist called Otto During. She's head of security for his firm, and she's has a lovely boyfriend who's a lawyer from the same firm. They're living together, and that's going very well. And she's very connected to her baby, and so there's like about 5 minutes of domestic bliss.
Oh no, she's back. Involved in terror.
Yes. So in the first episode, her boss, who is a very kind of progressive philanthropist, he's wanting to help refugees at a camp. In Lebanon. And so she protests. She says this is a terrible idea, but she goes anyway. And of course, there's an assassination attempt.
Right.
She assumes it's that her boss is the target, and she discovers that she, in fact, is the target. So she has to figure out who is trying to kill her and why.
And then we find also that Saul has had to come back to Berlin in order to investigate some
That's the big engine of the season. So it
brings them back together.
Exactly. So there's a massive cyber penetration in the Berlin station, and it's just a bunch of, a couple kids who kind of stumble into this incredible portal. Kind
of a Snowden-like thing.
Exactly. It creates great chaos.
So where is she in her mind now? We see her in episode 5. She's no longer in the CIA. She's happy.
She's happy.
Her bipolarism is
under control.
Under control.
She's taking her lithium every day.
Really?
Every day. No. So I think, I think a big theme for her this year is that her history is not something she can excuse herself from, In
other words, it used to be that whatever she did somehow was okay because she did such good things for the agency.
Right. Well, I think that, she discovers...
how a good person she was okay because...
Well, she didn't have a life before. She didn't think that she could have a life, that she was entitled to that, or that was possible because of her illness. She assumed that her illness was going to wreak terrible havoc and suffering within any intimate relationship she forged. So she just gave that up entirely. And so she has this epiphany at the end of the last season where maybe that's not the case, that maybe her condition will not prohibit her from real closeness with others and therefore happiness. So she's trying that on. She's experimenting with that, and it works. But yes, what she's not acknowledging in this new iteration is that she does have an incredible gift for this work and a kind of calling. And
what is that gift?
Well, she's kind of a superhero, right?
Yeah, sure. And she seemed to be smarter than everybody else.
She's always right.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very enjoyable to play that because it's so very far from the truth in my own reality. But no, that's the conceit, that the Cassandra, is actually sadly correct. And yeah, so she's incredibly intuitive, and she has these amazing insights, and she can connect dots faster than anyone else, and she will be able to save a lot of lives.
She seems to be able to see around corners.
Yes, she has these flashes of brilliance. And
what does Mandy bring here beyond the character to you? Because you've talked about how great it is to act with Mandy.
Yeah, well, he is such a powerful performer, Mandy. And, you know, obviously a brilliant musician and singer as well, and that informs his approach to his acting so deeply. And it's quite rare and specific to him, and a real, just a thrill and a joy to play with. And, you know, when we did the first reading of the pilot, you know, obviously we were all very new to each other, and as soon as we started, you know, our first scene, it was just clear that there was this relationship there already that we just kind of walked into, and it really took us.
It's like you meet somebody and all of a sudden.
Exactly, it took us by such surprise, and you know, he is. It's so fun because obviously Carrie is. A fast talker, you know, she's the kind of staccato at a very high frequency, and he is the opposite of that. And so there's just, you know.
Here's what he said. It was glorious from the very first second. I just loved it. There was a chemistry immediately. She was riveting. All I had to do was just listen to her.
Well, I feel the same way. I mean, really identical. Those could have been my words exactly. And I just am so, every choice he makes is so particular to his spirit, and it could never be reproduced or imitated by anyone else. And it's always compelling, and it's always inspiring, and it makes me do something new, you know, that I'm not.
Well, you in fact said, I know Mandy's process. I know his music and how to run and to play with it. It's such a gift to get to know an actor over this many years and always in a new context. It's like being in a marriage.
It is, a little bit, yeah. You know, we've been at this for 5 years. We've outrun, I think, a lot of marriages. Yeah. But it's a happy marriage. And to have that feeling of trust and that history and that shorthand is such a privilege.
And her marriage to the agency, which she's now left. She can never leave the agency, can she?
I don't think she can. I think she rediscovers how her passion for this work and her, you know, her gift.
In episode 5.
In season 5, I think towards the end. I think towards the end of the season, she, and I'm glad for that.
Might have thought it wasn't for her?
I think, you know, in the beginning of season 5, she is very relieved to be out of it. She does not miss it. But I kind of miss her playing it. You know, I miss playing it because I miss the joy that I've had in her kind of, in her relationship to her work. She really does love it, and it's fun to play that kind of love.
There's a saying in Russia, and I said this to Vladimir Putin in a recent interview, there is no such thing as a former KGB agent. Once a KGB agent, always a KGB agent, because there's something about the culture and something about the House of Mirrors and something about life on the precipice.
Right.
That is its own magnet.
I think it's probably very intoxicating, this line of work. I think it's probably very addictive because the stakes are so very high. And, you know, they're actors, they're acting, but for real, you know. I can't imagine that. I can't imagine.
There's nothing in you that could imagine being a CIA agent.
Not really. No, I mean, I try, but no, I think.
Because you met them and talked to them to prepare for this.
Yeah, it's, they know I have a spy big sister. It's really fun. She's wonderful, and
does she inform you in terms of what Carrie might think and feel? Your
Yeah.
CIA big sister.
Yeah, she does. I mean, I really just learned the most from observing her behavior and the way she talks. As much as what she says.
What does it say about you that I mean, you went to Yale when you were already a very successful actor because you wanted what?
Well, was a kid actor, right? So I started this when I was 12, and
thought about it when you were 3.
Yeah, exactly. So I didn't really get to go to high school. I was tutored on locations and trailers and very odd costumes in a really kind of fractured way. I remember taking my SATs when I was shooting The Rainmaker. I'd done a night shoot, and the Teamster dropped me off at the school with like my number 2 pencils, and I was just so disoriented. So that was my high school experience, and it was lonely. I was just working with adults, and so I think I wanted to go to college just to socialize as much as to learn, which is probably true for most people, but there was another level of urgency for me.
So not only your curiosity to learn things and different kinds of things, but also the socializing process of it all.
Absolutely. That was really vital for me, because I was starting to feel a little weird.
Weird?
Yeah.
Meaning?
Well, I didn't know how to hang out. It's very important to know how to do that.
It is.
So, yeah.
Not having necessarily an at ease with your contemporaries.
I was very self-conscious. I was, I was starting to become a bonsai tree or something.
Here's what's interesting. One of your directors said when you were 13, you were so good that it was a little scary for them. This is at 13.
That's very nice to hear.
You don't know what that is about you that makes somebody scary.
No, I mean, that's...
It was a commanding presence even at then.
Well, it's funny because, yes, I was a kid actor, but I never thought of myself as that.
You thought of yourself as a regular kid?
I was an actor who happened to be a kid.
I see.
That was sort of
Not
incidental.
a kid who happened to be an actor.
No, exactly.
In your heart and in your soul, everything about you were an actor. That's who you were.
And people, I started taking acting class when I was 10, and so seriously and with such commitment and fervor, and I really meant it. And people would say, but you're only 10. I think, only 10? I've been doing this forever. I'm exhausted.
And I'm in a hurry.
Yeah, no, I
gotta get here and get here and get here.
Plenty of material. I think one afternoon as a one-day-old person is enough to make something.
Yeah, but I'm struck by going off to college too, beyond the socializing. There is about you this almost intellectual curiosity. Mm-hmm. You care about knowing what is really, as we said, you've been a student of bipolar. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What it means, how does it affect you?
Well, and actually, at school, I thought I was going to be a psychology major.
Right.
Yeah, so that was always my interest, and that was always my plan B, was to go into therapy, psychology, be a therapist. And now I get to have my cake and eat it. I get to do both.
But you didn't graduate because a degree didn't mean that much to you.
Yeah, I think at 2 years I really understood what that experience was. I figured out how to hang out. I kind of got the fundamentals of in higher education. I learned how to think critically and discerningly, and knew how to write an essay. I'm sure those skills would have been further developed and refined in those extra 2 years, but I thought that I was going to be able to act every summer, and it doesn't work that way. I failed to realize how much work goes into getting work. I wasn't available to take meetings, read scripts, and a project that would start in July then got pushed to October. So 3 years passed, and I hadn't acted at all. I just missed it terribly.
See, that's almost like Carrie. Like she misses the CIA.
Yeah.
Even though,
but it's
and
interesting.
you missed acting.
I did. I missed it a lot, and I just needed to do it again. And also, one of the aims, one of the intentions of going to school was to commit to acting as an adult. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't just doing it out of habit, or based on a decision that I'd made as a 10-year-old. I kind of needed to reevaluate and renew my vows, so to speak.
Your vows to the idea of being...
To being a performer. Like, is that really...
So what's your ambition?
My ambition always is to work with creatively adventurous, expansive, like-minded people, to be working with writing material that makes me a little bigger, makes me understand the world a little better, a little more deeply. And, to be a ham and get paid for it.
Yes, I know.
It's great. Yeah, have a life and friendships that are intact and matter, and a relationship with my husband that's rich and good.
Well, here's what they say about you and Hugh, that you're constantly doing lines with each other.
We are, yes.
Riding along
Sometimes in the taxi, I'll be reading, his lines. Yeah, with him when he's in some hotel room or something. Yes, we're always doing that. Drills with each other. Yeah.
When you look at the success of this, 5 years, it's not like a movie here that you do and then you go do another movie. This is a character that you have inhabited, you have shaped, you have influenced. Is that acting at its best?
It's really interesting. It's sort of like the 7 Up series or something, or Boyhood. It really is an amazing project to grow up alongside a character in real time. And I'm finding it fascinating. And I'm fascinated that I still find it fascinating. That's pretty astonishing.
That after 5 years,
that it still feels
vital to you.
Yeah, it still feels like I'm figuring it out. I still have to crack it. There's the danger of like falling into old habits or some kind of complacency. But Alex and our showrunner and his team of writers, Alex Ganza, they are always pushing the boundaries further for themselves. Therefore, demanding that we actors follow suit and do the same.
What are you figuring out that you have to crack?
Well, there's a new challenge every year. So last year it was, how to grieve the loss of Brody and to kind of decide if that was a true love or not. Can she have a life and do this work? There's that. And then this year, I think it's kind of the opposite of that. But ultimately, she's going to have to find a way to integrate her passion.
Her new life with her passion.
Yeah.
You got to crack how that would be for her.
Yes. Who is Carrie as a mother? Who is Carrie
But
as...
she's putting her baby on a plane in episode 3.
Yeah, she doesn't want to, though.
And she does
She's
it in
genuinely sad about it.
Yeah,
and, in last season, she wouldn't be... She was throwing her on the plane.
Yes,
Please,
I
please.
know. But is it because, in the end, it's such a love for her daughter that she doesn't want to put her at risk?
That's right. Yeah, it is the responsible choice. But it's a I can't imagine a greater sacrifice. How horrendous.
There's also the role of narrator. You are the narrator for this.
A very unreliable one.
That's the way they describe it.
Yes.
Unreliable narrator.
Yes.
And what do they mean by that? Because
she can't
she's
trust,
so unpredictable.
She can't even trust herself. Yeah. Her chemistry, her brain chemistry is such that she may be responding to a kind of delusion or craziness, and so it makes it very exciting.
Now, does this resonate with you? The Atlantic Monthly magazine, the Atlantic magazine, says Carrie is mentally and emotionally unstable, the narrative goes, but she's also extraordinary. Although her brain chemistry thwarts her chances of lasting happiness, it gives her a broad streak of genius that makes her the country's most effective weapon in the fight against terror. That resonate?
It does. And I think that, I think brilliant leaders are maybe maybe they have to be a little eccentric.
Yeah.
Maybe they have to be kind of free and forward-thinking and a little idiosyncratic, and they maybe shouldn't fit into
And there's
the
some
mold.
evidence of that when we look at some of the people
Indeed.
that are in these places.
That's
you know,
right.
As we learn more about them.
That's right.
Yeah. But and what have you learned about where the relationship between bipolar and sort of brilliance?
I think, yes. I mean, there's a lot of evidence that those two things are connected. You know, there are a lot of examples of really, genius minds. Anyway.
Here's what I'm struck by, too, is that, I mean, here we are in year 5.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to me that she is as fresh and as fascinating
Mm-hmm.
for you as she was in season 1. It's just she's at a different plane. Brody's gone.
Yeah.
You know, season 4 was a transition, and then she's fully into the transition,
Yes.
yet being pulled back.
Right.
But it's, as you talk about it, it's enormously exciting and fresh for you. This is not you saying, oh, here we go with another season.
No, exactly. I mean, I was being, a little glib and facetious, and I said, well, she's happy, but actually, what does that mean for her? I've
that's the
never
question you want to explore.
Yeah, I've never experienced that before as her,
Yeah.
So what does that look like? I have to kind of, lay that down, design it. So that's been really fun.
So everybody always asks you this, I'm sure, but you must have thought about it, therefore. What's the relationship between Carrie and Claire? How are they, what do you find in her that's...
My stock jokey answer
I
is
know,
we're
I know you
both
got-
fake
I
blondes,
know, I know, but I don't like
and
you-
I mean,
you
we
wanna go
are so
beyond that
very
for me.
different. No, of course. I mean, we are. The differences are more obvious than the similarities. We both love our work. It sounds ridiculous, but we both have this, this gift of being deeply attracted to our respective lines of work. They happen to be
Can you
different,
imagine
although
what-
there's a lot of role playing involved in
Yes,
both.
yes, yes.
A lot of travel,
Right.
or in very insular worlds. And I think I have a kind of linear focus in general. I can be quite driven, and I can be very hard on myself.
Really?
And I think she's also those things too. So, and we're both pretty earnest. We both care a lot, like a little too much.
A little too much,
Yeah,
Carrie?
yeah. And, I love that she is such a protagonist and that she kind of drives the action forward. That's such a, that's very, very unusual to have that chance as a woman.
And to be that.
To be that, to be the
You're
engine.
not that in real life?
Well, I mean, I think
You
I
drive,
feel
you drive.
no,
your-
but
I mean, you can't do what you have done
I don't.
without driving a life forward.
No, that's true. That's true. Thank you for
That's
saying
what-
that. But I meant really in most fiction out there and most projects, it's really not the woman who.
And therefore, this is really wonderful.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, it is. I cannot believe my luck. I cannot believe my luck that I have this much room to play. It's absurd.
Because it gives all the instincts in you as a human being, as an actor, an outlet. Because
Yes.
she is the way she is.
She's
and all that I
active.
feel, I can show.
Yeah, and I love that she gets to be powerful and assertive and courageous and truly vulnerable. Because I think real vulnerability does require courage, and we're a little bit confused about that in our culture.
I agree. Yeah, explain
Yeah.
more about that, because I totally agree with you.
Yeah, and I think that, and there's this whole like Claire cry face, that meme and stuff, and I actually am very kind of flattered by that because, I get to expose real ugly stuff, real stuff. Sometimes it's ugly, but I think it's just human and true, and there aren't many outlets for it in pop culture, and here is one, and I'm a professional feeler. I like the feelings. I'm for them. So I get to do that here a whole lot, and also be and also save the day. You know.
Does empathy play anything for you?
Well, empathy is everything for me. I mean, that is what I do. I'm an empath, right? I get to, I get to really understand what it is to be a different person and see the world from a very, very different place. And it's that freedom is just thrilling, you know. And I discover that, oh yes, we all are connected. We really are all connected. And you know, and it encourages a kind of tolerance, you know, that is beautiful, you know, and very reassuring for me personally, you know.
Have you ever had in your life, not bipolar, not some diagnosed issue, but a sense that I'm a bit crazy? I'm a bit mad.
Sure.
I'm a bit, and I want to use the right terms because people in the mental health world are very careful about, understandably so, about not using terms that stereotype what is a very real medical thing.
Absolutely.
But for you, in a sense, you felt out of control, or you felt...
Of course. I mean, I think within, yes, I think as a very young person, as a kid, I had a very unruly imagination. I had a big imagination. And I think that took me some time to understand and harness.
Harness is the right word.
Right. So, and I think it's true for most kids, and their brains are developing, but I really had to figure out how to differentiate the real from the unreal.
How'd you do it? Just
practice,
keep
living.
Doing it. Yeah. And has all of this stimulated in you an interest in spycraft and all that, beyond feeding your informational base to play the character, but just out of general interest?
Sure.
This world of intrigue and in terms of spying and who knows what, when, where.
Yeah, I'm still amazed that it actually exists, you know, and that there is this huge underworld, so to speak, and subculture that's above ground even.
I'll
we
tell
just
you an
can't
interesting
see it.
story about talking to Vladimir Putin. There was a moment in which he said, I'm sure this was a coup d'etat. And he was actually accusing the CIA. So I said, how do you know? He said, I know. He said, I have friends there, I have people there. You think I stopped talking to those people? We know what you did.
Right.
This is a real time.
Well, I think that work does engender a kind of paranoia. But, you know, are you really paranoid if they are, in fact, after you? I mean, I think that it can be supported by fact, that suspicion and the paranoia. But I think it's a very difficult state to be in.
Yes.
Constantly.
I'm also interested, finally, in this idea of what people are curious about. Beyond me, someone who both loves and is interested in and does interviews in that world, loves and is interested in acting and does interview in that world, and knows you. But what are people curious about with respect to this series for you? What's your feedback about Carrie Mathison? Is it personal? Is it what?
Well, I think that...
What shapes her?
I think they care about her struggle, her personal struggle. They are
her vulnerability.
Her vulnerability. Yeah. You know, that amazing kind of juxtaposition of vulnerability and power and strength. And I think that, you know, we explore what it is to do this kind of work, and we understand the kind of sacrifice that patriots make, and how lonely an experience that can be. And, you know, when these very isolated characters kind of reach for each other to forge some connection, I think that is very interesting and exciting and moving.
Thank you. It's great to see you.
Nice to see you too.